welcome to the Wayne Public Library's virtual author chat. My guest today is Judy Kentrus. Judy has always been a romantic at heart. She even married her high school sweetheart, Joe. Judy describes her stories as fun, sexy romances that will make you laugh, cry, and fall in love. Her latest novel, Taste of Summer, is the fifth novel in her Eden Prairie series. Welcome, Judy. Please tell us a little more about yourself and your novels.
Well, I'm just so thrilled and delighted to be here. And I guess I can claim that I grew up I'm a Jersey girl originally. I grew up in Elizabeth and then I moved to Union. And then when my husband retired from the Union Police Force, we moved to Pennsylvania. But I only live 15 minutes over the Delaware, and I still spend a lot of time in New Jersey. And we have 2 children. I have 6 grandchildren, and they keep me hopping. And I spend time in Florida visiting my Florida crew and whatever. But most of my time is spent writing. And I write, as you mentioned, contemporary romantic suspense. And I just launched my first historical romance.
Oh, wow.
And it was a book that was started 20 years ago. And I decided to take it out of the box and rework it. And it's become one of my favorite books. And you have any questions you want to ask me? Because I mean,
yes,
all these wonderful questions, and I did put some answers together.
Okay. Can you tell us a little about the Eden Prairie series?
Okay. The Eden Prairie series didn't start out to be a holiday series, but the way it worked out, I have 5 books, and I have a Christmas book, a New Year's book, a Valentine's Day, and a Halloween book. And my latest one is called Taste of Summer. And it's it was a very, very fun book to write. My one character in Another New Year's Eve has her own catering business. And I loved her as a character. And I decided Martina Lacatelli, who comes from an Italian background, and I have to say, Lena helped me, gave me some hints on the characteristics and fun things about being an Italian. And she has her own book in this. And I needed a special hero. And again, he just popped into my head and the story just came together. And as they say, it takes place the end of June, and it commences on July the 4th. Okay. So for me, I celebrated this book more on July the 4th of this year.
Okay, just a few days ago.
Yes, which was a couple days ago.
And do you prefer to write series or do you prefer to write standalone?
I started out as standalones, but what happens is when you start becoming friends with characters who show up in your books, it's like, this one deserves their own book. And at times I'll have a character that drives me crazy that says, I want my own book. And I have this one character, her name is Margaret Taylor. She's in my Beacon Point books. She was a judge. She's in all these other books. And I'm saying to myself, Margaret needs her own book. So, these people keep bothering you. And eventually she got her book. So yes, I do like to do series. I really do.
Series are fun. I'll be honest, they're my favorite. I love series. So I love to reminisce and get back and see the old characters from the previous books. It's just like a welcoming kind of feeling.
That's great. I love it.
Could you share something about this book that's not in the blurb about the book?
Oh yes. In Taste of Summer, again, I don't know where this stuff comes from, but these ideas and characters pop into your head. In the blurb that I have on the back of the book talks about Martina and the situation of the book, which I can read it to you later. But there's two other characters in the book that I had so much fun. I have to tell you, when I was writing what happened to them, I was laughing. I have a character, her name is Patsy Lynn. She's 80 years old. She was a rock star, and she was part of a singing group called the Diamondettes in the 50s. And she doesn't know what it means to get old. She just has fun. She goes to jazzercise. She has 5 cats that she's named after the 5 Satins, which was a singing group. And I have another character, Sylvester. Sylvester doesn't care whether he gets up in the morning or not. Well, I decided his life needed some shaking up. And I introduced him in a roundabout way to Patsy Lynn. And as I say, I had so much fun. At one point, I will tell you, I got them together and they went shopping to the mall. She wanted to go into Victoria's Secret. And this was all new to him, like, whoa. And she comes out and he said, well, what did you buy? Because he was embarrassed. He's 82 to go into the store. Mm-hmm. And she holds up a thong. And he says to her, did the manufacturer run out of fabric? I mean, every time I read that, whatever, I have fun. I really do. It's a very fun
like book. Wonderful characters, and the chemistry between them, I'm certain, is, legendary.
Okay. It worked out. It really did.
It sounds. One of the things I did notice in your bio is that you enjoy baking, and your heroine in Taste of Summer, Martina, she's a chef. So do you often include cooking or baking in your series?
Yes. I've been dubbed the Cookie Queen, and at Christmas time I make no less than maybe 15 different kinds of cookies.
Oh my goodness!
I do give a lot of them away. We do eat a lot, but I have a tendency, yes, to bring in cooking, and it's not always the woman who cooks. In Taste of Summer, I have men cooks. I try to switch. And what helps is my son-in-law and my daughter and son-in-law live with me, and he has become a master chef when it comes to barbecuing. So basically he helped me. He was an influence in creating the character. But yes, you're going to find lots of food in my books. Yes.
That's always good. Recipes? Are there recipes in it? Or
actually, in the back of Taste of Summer, there's a special rub that I dubbed in the book, Rub-a-Dub-Rub.
Okay.
So
That's a bonus. That's a bonus.
Yes.
I would ask if you had a favorite character, but I think that you've told me your favorite character from all your books.
I love all of my characters. Between Margaret Taylor, my judge, who's been a bunch of the books, my geriatric couple, they were so much fun. As you say, I love all of them. And again, that's why I have to bring them into my different series.
And are there more Eden Prairie books, do you think?
I have there's 4 different books in the Eden Prairie series. And one of my series, I have a U.S. Park Ranger series. And I set it, one of the books, in the area of Eden Prairie. And what I wanted to mention in my U.S. Park Ranger series, last year, I released A Timeless Kiss, and it takes place in the Delaware Water Gap. And I had to research the entire history of how the gap was created and why. and involved the Tox Island Dam project. And if anybody's interested in New Jersey and the Delaware Water Gap and how the actual, it's a recreational area. It's not a national park yet. A Timeless Kiss takes place there. And I was going to have a book signing with the Historical Society up here, but everything had to be canceled because of COVID.
Oh, what a shame. What a shame. Do you often do a lot of research for your books, or was that like one of the?
No, that's a major part of my books, because I need to do it right. And readers are very smart and intelligent. And if you say something that's not correct, they'll call you out on it. And that's why, I mean, when I researched the history of the Delaware Water Gap, I mean, since I actually live in 10 minutes away from my house, down the road is part of the water gap. And Milford, New Jersey is just inundated with historical information. I went to all the different places because I wanted to make sure I got all the information right. So, and then when I did my historical, which is this here, Spirit of the Winds, it took me 2 years of research because I had to figure out and learn how to sail a sailing ship, because Spirit of the Winds is about one of the first clipper ships that was ever launched. And I based all the information on the Flying Cloud, which is a real clipper ship, but I had to create my own. And this book is 146,000 words. It was originally 176. So when I revamped it, that's what I'm saying. I get very involved with research and I do love it. I do love it.
That's wonderful. An aside, I do archival stuff, and I've been up in your area in Milford, and they do have a lot of historical stuff. They have, you know.
Well,
like
have you been to Pinchot's house?
No, I went to. There's a historical society up there,
Yes.
but
Did
I guess it's Montague. Is that like around there?
Yeah. Oh,
That's on the other side.
Yeah, Montague is right over the river.
Right over the river.
And did you go through the historical building itself?
Yes. Yes.
Did you see Lincoln's flag?
Probably. It was a long time ago. I apologize.
They have a flag on display that was used to cradle Lincoln's head when he was shot.
Oh, wow.
So they have that. And then Pinchot's house is right down the road in Milford. It was when he met with Roosevelt, it was his idea to start he advised him to start national parks. And it's right here, and you can go to Pinchot's house. It's amazingly beautiful. Good to know. You have to come back.
I will. I don't live too far.
You come back, I'll meet you.
All right. That sounds wonderful. So what got you into writing? Did you always have a passion for it? Or?
To tell you the truth, no. But my mom wrote songs and she wrote poetry. So somewhere along the line, she put that gene into me. And I just decided one day, I started reading Kathleen Woodiwiss, who is one of my most favorite authors of all time. And her historical romances were just beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then it just got me like, why can't I do this? And then I started writing, and the words just came from where I don't know. Then I decided I'm going to write a historical romance, and that got me sucked in. And about 7 years ago, I launched my first book. And I will tell you that because indie publishing became so big, mm-hmm. I decided, to self-publish. And it's been a learning curve, and I know a heck of a lot more than I did 7 years ago, and I have 25 books now.
I was going to say, I looked at your list just in 7 years. That is impressive. That is incredible, actually.
Well, next year I have 6 books planned.
6, and you do all the research.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't say
You've blown me away. I have to tell you, that's a very short span for that many books, and to have 6 more planned for next year. That's, yeah, exactly as Rose is saying in the chat. Wow. I mean, usually people are telling me they spend, 7 years trying to like perfect that one book, or scrapping one and starting a new one because a new idea came, and and just trying to get published. So in 7 years, 25. I
well,
commend you, actually. That's
because
amazing.
you can do it yourself with indie publishing.
Hmm.
It's a little bit easier to get your book out there. And they said, and I'll tell you, the first book I wrote, I sent it to Harlequin, and after a year, because I sent 2 other queries, have you decided? And they said, well, it's in another editor, and they kept giving me this runaround. And after a year, they decided, well, no, we're not going to publish it. And like, what? After making me wait a year, and that's why indie publishing makes you, you can get your book out there. There's so much to learn about it. And as I say, that's how I actually got published.
Yeah, Patty has a question. Were they just cold queries, or did you actually have an agent?
No, I sent the initial query, and then they said, please send the first 3 chapters and then the entire breakdown of this whole storyline, which I did. But again, that was Harlequin 7 or 8 years ago, and things have changed. Things change every 6 months.
Absolutely. So, did you like before you got published? How many years do you think you were working on manuscripts?
I had 2,
You
a
had 2.
historical and a contemporary.
Wow.
And but the historical was mainly doing intensive research. Now, I didn't plan it, but on the historical, I've had a couple people give me reviews and said, well, when you're going to do a series on this. And I hadn't planned on it. But again, there's characters in the books that deserve their story. So I've now decided I'm going to write 2 more historicals. Maybe, but I'm looking at 2023, because the follow-up book is about a couple who showed up in book 1, but I've got to research how to grow tobacco in a tobacco plantation in Virginia, and the political element in Washington in the year 1840. So they say I'm a fanatic for getting it right. And I don't want to say whatever. But the fun part of doing a historical is there's no cell phones, there's no running water, there is no telephone, and you really need to work around, that modern conveniences are not there. And that's even more of a challenge. It's fun.
It definitely is, but I'm still like astonished, I have to say. Well, we've gotten through how many you've written, 25 plus 6 more for next year. And what's the most difficult part of writing for you?
Okay, and this may sound crazy, but I love writing romantic suspense.
Okay.
And usually there's something in every book that will probably drive a reader nuts. Like, what do you mean? I never saw this coming. And developing that within a story, to me, is the biggest challenge. And this may sound crazy, but I have a 4-book series called The Association, and it takes place in the Jersey Shore. I created my own little town, and I based it off of Cape May, which I absolutely love. Okay, so 4 guys, when they're 16 years old, they witnessed a murder. They were under the boardwalk in the Jersey Shore drinking. They're now 50 years old, and they witnessed a murder. They were drunk. The police didn't believe them that they saw somebody was shot. And when they bring the police, the body's gone. So who's going to believe 4 16-year-olds who are drunk? Well, they're 50 years old now, and they want to know who was murdered and why. So I took 4 books, and I introduced the murder in book 1, but it wasn't solved until book 4. That was like, I said to myself, why are you doing this to yourself? So you had 4 different couples, and each book they got closer to the actual murder. And, I warned the reader in the beginning that, it's not fair to leave a reader hanging. You know what I mean?
3 times before the resolution in the 4th, yes.
Exactly. And but again, I visited Cape May, and I decided I'm going to create my own little town. And again, but keeping the reader's interest to me is the hardest part without giving away the plot. I mean, the whodunit ending. And that part drives me crazy. It really does. But somehow it works out. But that's my challenge.
That's the challenge. Lena asks why, if you started when you originally started, you started with historical, why did you switch to contemporary?
Because I only had that one historical in mind. I never decided that I was going to do another one. I mean, anybody who reads this book, I poured my heart and soul into the book. And I will tell you, I didn't know that much about writing when I wrote this book. When I reread it a year ago, and all I had was a stack of papers this high, because I couldn't find the discs, because we moved from New Jersey to Pennsylvania. So I had to retype the entire book, 176,000 words, into the computer. And I read when I'm typing, I'm saying to myself, you said this? This is terrible. How could you write this way? But that was 23 books since. But the whole book is basically there. But I polished it a lot. And it's still one of my favorite books. I poured, again, my heart and soul into it. And then it's funny, I have one reader who's in England, and in her review, she says, I was really hesitant to buy this book. I've read all of Judy's books, but she never wrote a historical. So she figured, well, I'm going to try it. And then she wrote, I think this is the best book she's ever written. So, you don't know. And I need, for the next 2 historicals, I need to keep that polish and the high quality there. That's why I need to figure out, the truth and research it right, because I'm not going to rush it. I will not rush it.
Do you work on one book at a time, or do you work on several manuscripts?
At this point, I'm part of a box set that it's going to be out next year. It's called A Season for Romance, and it's all couples who are what they're calling seasoned romance, 45 and older, which, I love. But I'm also putting together 4 more books in my Beacon Point series that happened in New Jersey. And it's based on a bed and breakfast called Henny Penny's Bed and Breakfast. And Matilda Hennypenny was in the association books. So I'm deciding she's going to get her books, and it's her and her 3 stepsisters. So I'm working on those 4 books for next year, plus the box set.
How many hours? How many hours a day do you
I'm
actually work
a
on the
minimum,
book?
a minimum of 6,
6 hours.
at least.
Okay. Okay. And how much time is actual writing and how much is research?
At this point, because I'm working on 4 books, the research I usually spend 1 or 2 hours, because in book 1, the girl, Matilda, makes her own jewelry. So I'm researching how to make your own jewelry. Book 2, the girl runs a construction company and she's also a ghost hunter by hobby. So I'm researching that. Book 3, and this really happened. The girl's hobby is supporting an organization that refurbishes pianos and gives them away to people who are looking for pianos. And book 4, the girl is deaf. So I'm researching the developing of her character. So that's what I'm saying. I've got all these irons in the fire, but I just need everything to be right. I really do.
Again, I believe Patty said very impressive. I have to agree, as Lena did too. That's I'm astounding, I would say. Um, so I'm like trying to look at I believe I've asked most of the most of my general questions. You've answered your publishing journey. You switched to indie after waiting on Harlequin with
Yes.
for a year. Have you ever like attempted to try going back to traditional publishing, or it's only going to be indie?
Right now, no, because from what I've been told, the regular publishing houses are kind of struggling. And I guess indie is the way to go. But people have to remember, when you're indie, you have to wear all the hats.
Okay.
You have to do your own marketing. And that is, for me, that's hair pulling at this point. And then you have to do your own writing. You have to make sure you get a really, really good editor. I have a fantastic editor. Costs me a bundle, but when she's finished, the book is right. Then I send it to a proofreader. You have to hire your own person to do your own cover. I've made a lot of my own covers. I'm learning. But I mean, you want a professional cover to draw a picture to the book. And I will tell you that if anybody is starting out and thinks they want to write their own book, don't be afraid. Absolutely do not be afraid. What did I write here? I even made my own notes because I'm going to do this right. Write down your words. Even if they don't make sense, just keep writing. And if you don't know anything, you can ask questions. And I will tell you, like, even though I'm still writing and I feel confident with what I do, I have a series of books called the Emotion Thesaurus series. And there's 4 books. And it's a writer's guide to character expression. And if you want one of your characters to feel quirky about something, you could go to these emotion thesauruses. One book even provides you a description. If you're going to an amusement park, it would tell you, oh, this is what's in an amusement park. So I mean, like, these are reference books that I find super great. And I can highly recommend the New Jersey chapter of Romance Writers of America. And I'm sure Lena will agree with me. They're an amazing group of ladies They're there for you. They're going to share your writing journey, and boy, do they answer your questions, and they'll help you. So, I mean, if anybody's afraid, like, oh, I don't know what to do, I have all these words. What do I do with them? Start asking questions. And that's basically what I had to do in the beginning, because I didn't know anything. And then again, I met all these great ladies in the New Jersey chapter, and they'll help you. They'll help you. They'll tell you if something is junk. There's a critique group. I met Lena, and we have two other ladies that we meet, and we bounce ideas off each other. And and if you write something that's doesn't make sense, they'll let you know. But as they say, don't be afraid to write. Absolutely, don't be afraid.
Okay. Rose had asked if you could share some of being part of like the indie and how all the different steps, but you seem to have outlined that. And writing freely, yes, that seems to be a consensus. Just get the words down. They don't have to, they don't have to be perfect. So
Exactly. Once you get your words down, if you think your book is, you're satisfied with your book, if you have somebody, you don't even have to use a friend. What happens is if you ask a friend to read your book, the friend's going to say, oh my God, this is the greatest book I've ever read. But they're reading it from your standpoint because they know you as a friend. And you need somebody who's going to give you an honest opinion. Maybe you have a friend who's a librarian or somebody who's read books. Just say, can you do me a favor? What do you think of this book? And again, they can either say, be honest and say, I have all these questions. And if you can take the criticism, and you need to take criticism, do not be afraid, because that's only going to help you make a book better. Again, join a writing group, and the ladies will review stuff with you and guide you in that way. And if you're satisfied that this is my best product, you look for an editor, a professional editor. I use a line editor, and you have, let's see, there's a line editor, a developmental editor. You also need to be able to put out some money to get these books edited. And they get back to you, and you make the changes that they suggest. Then you're ready to get your cover. You search out cover artists. But again, ask questions of people either online. There's Facebook groups, tons of Facebook groups. And most of them are very nice. So you can put out, I'm looking for a cover artist, and you'll probably get 20 different responses. I mean, the one that I use, she was a member of the New Jersey writing group. And again, I use Casey, which it's Wild Heart Graphics. She does an amazing job. Again, you're going to get your cover. You have it edited, you have your cover. And then the fun part is uploading it. If you have any questions on uploading or you're not sure, that's when you ask questions. I didn't know the first thing about uploading a book to Amazon. But again, I had to ask questions. And I uploaded it. And when you hit that word publish, it's like, wow, it's the greatest feeling. And I still have that great feeling of publish 25 books later. But don't be afraid to ask questions.
Rose asked, how many beta readers do you usually have for each book?
I only have 2. Because what happens is, if you get too many opinions, it can be very confusing. And make sure your beta readers could be friends. But as I say, I'm very cautious, because again, I have a friend who wrote a book. It was a wonderful book. She decided she needed more opinions on the book. And maybe after 5 of them, she was totally confused. She didn't know what to do. So it's, if you put too many irons in the fire, basically, you can get very confused. So be really careful. I have 2, and I'm satisfied. But don't be satisfied with everybody's opinions. It's your book. And if you like it and you're comfortable and you know this is the best book you've ever written, you go for it. Then it gets out there, and like, I have to tell you, the hardest part is for me to get reviews. I even have a special Facebook group, Judy's Gems. Everybody hates to write reviews. And the ones I get are, they're very good. I get emails from readers. I loved your book. I loved your book. And I said, well, write a review. They don't write the review. So you can't even go by the reviews. And they I've had to discount them because I was getting upset in the beginning. Either people are going to be honest with you or they're not going to write a review. But you know that you wrote your best book.
That's true. Lena asked if you write the text on the back cover or if it's your editor that does, like traditional publishing.
I put together the blurb in the back of the book. And if it's too long, the words could be cut. Casey, the girl who does my book covers at this point, she'll come back to me and say, do you mind if I edit this for a little bit? I mean, she's an author also. So, I mean, I trust her. She's an amazing writer. So she'll come back and say, you don't need all this stuff. Get this out of here. And then I'll send it to the lady who's my proofreader, who happens to be an English teacher. And let me tell you, you want an English teacher. I mean, my editor is amazing. She's absolutely great. Then I send it to my proofreader, who's an English teacher, and believe me, she's amazing. She doesn't catch a lot, but there are a few things. I'll send the back blurb to her. So again, I get opinions on both. So, as I say, that's basically what ends up in the back of the book.
Rose asks, have you heard of services that you pay for a package of reviews, but they have to be honest reviews?
Yes, I use Hidden Gems and called Booksprout. And Hidden Gems, everybody in the world uses. And you could, if you want to get it, if you have a release now, forget reviews. If you have a release coming next year, you have to sign up for next year already to get these package reviews. And if you sign up for 30 reviews, they do come through. I mean, they will give you 30 reviews. Booksprout is another company that I've used, but people have to sign up for your books. And I just did that. And I've only had a couple people sign up because there's so many books for people to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
But as again, this marketing is like, oh my God, it's like just pulling my hair out. That's the hard part.
Yes, I would think that's, it's not the norm. Like you're deviating away so far from the writing process, the writing, the editing, even selecting the cover and uploading, but it's the marketing, it's getting it out there, far and wide. That must be very difficult.
And I will tell you, because for a lot of my friends are published for the big houses, they don't do the marketing that they used to years ago. You have to basically do your own marketing. I had to get all my BookBub people. There's places that you can sign up to get your BookBub signups, your newsletter signups. I have a couple of those that I've had to use. They're not expensive, but that's how you try to draw your readers to you and to get, again, your monthly newsletter and BookBub notification. That's all up to you. It's all on these shoulders right here.
Yeah, that's a lot of extra work. Um, oh,
Yes.
Still impressed. Patty asked if there's any authors or genres that you read for pleasure.
Okay. I will say my favorite author is J.D. Robb, which we all know is Nora Roberts.
Mhm.
I started reading her old silhouette books, but I didn't know who she was. You used to walk at that point, you walk in Barnes and Noble and just, you find your favorite authors. But I will tell you, I have an eclectic taste. So, I mean, I read, I like romantic suspense. But again, J.D. Robb is my favorite. And then my first historical was Kathleen Woodiwiss. And don't ask me how many times I've read the book Shauna. That's, that's
Shauna is on the list of everyone's like first ever that they ventured into romance. It always comes up.
yes.
Um, have you ventured into audiobooks? Lena was asking.
Well, we had a speaker at one of our New Jersey groups who talked about audiobooks, and it's a great idea. But again, to me, at this point, it's very costly, very costly. And I'm funny when it comes to audiobooks. Like J.D. Robb has one author, one
Reader.
announcer, whatever you want to call her, who has done all of her J.D. Robb books.
Mhm.
And she knows these characters. And after what, 55 books later? Is it 55? Something like that. And I guess I'm very particular when it comes to a certain type of voice. And because I'm so particular about my books, the book's has to be the right voice to go with the story. And I probably will be so picayune that I won't be happy with it. So I really, at this point, wouldn't go into audiobooks that, it's costly.
I would say I pretty much read all my stuff as audiobooks. So I'm a big advocate of audiobooks. And so I always say try one, just one. It could be one and then see how it goes. I mean, if it's expensive, I understand, but just to see.
If
It's a
if I did
different
any book,
audience.
if I did any book, it would be Spirit of the
Correct.
Winds. I mean,
Patty agrees with audiobooks. We're both, I know Patty. We're both very much very big on audiobooks.
oh,
Um,
oh, I enjoy them too.
oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
I love audiobooks, but again, I can't put out the expense. I mean, I've got book cover expenses. I'm not even going to tell you what it cost me to have this edited. 146,000 words? You don't want to know. I'm just saying, when you're an indie, you have all those expenses. And again, I would like to say I'm rich, but I'm not. But I love, love, love what I'm doing. Absolutely love what I'm doing.
It's wonderful. I'll ask you my fun question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that you travel and you love baking as two of your favorite things. So I have to ask, where have you traveled? And do you have a favorite location? And what is your favorite cookie?
Okay. The favorite cookie part is the easiest, but where have I traveled? I have traveled to every state but 6. I've been to Hawaii, Alaska. I've been through the Panama Canal twice. My husband and I had a motorhome, so it was easy to hook up the back of the car and just go. And I think one of my most favorite places was Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And we went to the Grand Canyon. It was July, no, the end of June, and it snowed. I kid you not, it snowed.
Oh my goodness.
It was, it was actually. I'm glad we both had sweatshirts on because it was kind of chilly, And within an hour, 4 inches of wet snow dropped, and all these people were running around like ants, like going into the gift shop to go get a sweatshirt. But that was fun. And I said, going through the Panama Canal was amazing. And 2 years ago, my husband passed away. So one of our dream trips was to go to Alaska. And I did. 2 years ago, I took a land sea tour. This is before COVID, naturally. And I covered one of those states we were supposed to go through, and it was amazing. And believe it or not, when I decided to write Frozen Hearts, which is Margaret Taylor's book, I put her on that land sea tour. So the entire book was my trip taken by Margaret Taylor.
Okay.
And it was a super fun book to write because the man who becomes part of the storyline, when she goes to this meet and greet, which I went to at the top of the hotel the day she arrives in Alaska, she sees this man sitting across the room, and she knows he shouldn't be there. He's supposed to be in prison for murder.
Oh.
So,
okay.
that part didn't happen to me, but I'm just saying I had to make it all part of the storyline. But again, it was fun doing the land sea tour of Alaska, which was just beautiful. And as for my favorite cookie, it's a potato chip cookie.
Okay.
It's super amazing. And on my website, which is judykentrus.com, I do put a recipe every month, and things that I've made that are really good. And in December, you're going to get a couple of cookie recipes, but my favorite is a potato chip cookie. And unless you know what you're going to take a bite of this great cookie and say, what is that taste? Why is this thing melting in your mouth? And it's finely ground potato chips. Believe me, they're great. Absolutely.
I love to bake, so I'll have to take a look at that and see. That sounds very
send me your email and I'll send you the recipe.
Okay, I will. I will. Lena, that's a great cookie. Well, I don't know if anyone has any other questions. If not, then I am going to say a big thank you to Judy for taking part in the author chat with us today.
Yeah.
I am very impressed. I've been walking away very impressed.
I enjoyed being here very, very much.
Yeah. Everyone saying thank you, and Patty says it was very interesting, really interesting. So again, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to reading your novels. And definitely, we have your historical here, and we're gonna make sure to promote it.
If you'd like, I don't know if you have it on your shelf, but I'll be happy to send you a copy of Spirit of the Winds.
That is the one that we do own. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I did purchase a copy.
And do you have Taste of Summer?
I do not have Taste of Summer.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to send it to you.
Oh, we would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Please, I'm happy to do it. I really am. I love it. And as I say, my books like the Park Ranger, A Timeless Kiss, that's New Jersey. And the 4 association books, that's New Jersey. The 4 books next year will be New Jersey. You can tell I liked living in New Jersey.
Yes. Well, again, thank you so much, Judy. And thank you to everybody who participated in all your wonderful questions. I think we learned a lot.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? If anybody has any questions, they can go on my website, judykentrus.com. My email address is there. I feel free to send me your questions because somebody's got to learn from the beginning, and so many people helped me, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions or not give advice. I mean, they want advice, fine, but I'll answer whatever questions anybody has.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
This has been
I love
wonderful.
being here. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.